my name is Summer Poteet. What's your name?
Stephen Cowan.
All right. And what do you prefer to be called?
Steve.
Steve? Okay. All right. Well, Steve, I am glad that you came here today. Before we get started, I'm just going to go over a few things since this is our very first session.
Okay.
So everything that we're going to be saying will be kept confidential. It's going to stay in between these walls right here. Now, the only time that I do have to break that is if you are in danger of harming yourself or others, or if someone is in danger of being abused, such as an elderly person or someone with a disability or a child. So besides that, everything we say will be kept between us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. And I would also like to go over what our roles are going to be during these sessions. That way we can better help you. So my role will be to be there to listen to you. And I will also be doing a lot of what's called cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's a therapy that's been proven to be really helpful with people with depression. And now your role will just be to be as open with me as possible. Does that sound good?
That's fine.
All right. So what we'll do at the beginning of every session is we'll go over an agenda, and that'll just help us have an idea of what we'll be talking about throughout the session and what we want our focus to be on. That way we can work on your goals. Does that sound good?
That's fine.
Okay. So I'll always, at the beginning of the session, I'll do what's called a mood check, kind of just to see how your week's gone. And then after that mood check, we'll talk about what's been going on and how you've been feeling. And we'll talk about what you want your goal to be, what you want to be focusing on. And then I will do a little bit of education on what CBT therapy is. And we'll always give what's called kind of like a homework assignment for you to be working on throughout the week. And it's nothing real hard. It's just a couple times a week you'll have something to be thinking about or something that's going to help you with your goal. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. And then I will just at the end, we'll always do a summary to kind of go over everything that we've talked about. And we will also, I always ask you for feedback to see if there's anything that you may want me to do differently the next session.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, we will go ahead and get started then. I will be talking a lot today since this is our very first session. So just be prepared for that. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the least depressed you've ever felt, and then a 10 being the most depressed you've felt, how would you rate how you've been feeling this week?
About 8.
About an 8?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty high. You've been feeling pretty depressed this week, I'd say. Yeah, okay. So about when did these feelings of depression start?
About a couple of months ago, I was in a car accident, and I suffered what the doctor said was a traumatic brain injury to my prefrontal cortex. And since then, I've been really sad, really depressed. I feel like I can't do the things I used to do, or nobody wants to be my friend no more, and people are going to look at me differently.
All right. So it sounds like since you had your car accident and the traumatic brain injury a couple of months ago, that's really when a lot of these feelings started, and you've been more sad. And it also sounds like you're having a lot of worry about what your friends may think as well, and if they're wanting to hang out with you. Yeah. All right. Okay, so what I would like to do is go ahead and do a little bit of education on what cognitive behavioral therapy is.
Okay.
So what that is, it focuses a lot on your thoughts they influence a lot about how your behaviors and your feelings. So, for instance, you said that when you have that thought of thinking, my friends don't want to hang out with me, is that when you maybe start to feel a little sad?
Yeah, just the feeling that nobody, they might think that they might say that they don't have time to spend with me. They got something else planned. I take it like they don't want to be with me, and it's just an automatic thought.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Right. And actually, what you just said, an automatic thought, sometimes you may not even realize that you're thinking the thoughts. They may be thoughts that you've thought since you were a child, and you may not even realize that you're thinking them. But those thoughts really can influence the way you end up feeling and your behaviors of maybe choosing to stay home and not hang out with your friends.
Yeah, I'm so sad. I don't even want to get out of bed. I just don't feel motivated. And I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous. I'm first time and everything, talking to somebody about it, and it's a little nerve wracking.
All right. Well, yeah, and I mean, this is our first session, so by all means, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. And what we will be doing every session, we'll be talking about what goals you want to accomplish by coming here. That way, some of the feelings that you're feeling and the sadness, you can work on feeling better. Does that sound good? All right. So you've named a few different things that you're going through about your friends and things. What would be maybe a goal that you would want to accomplish by coming?
To be able to not feel sad all the time, and be able to hang out with my friends and not feel different.
All right. Okay. So what we can do is we can let me give you this piece of paper right here. Here you go. This is there you go. Sorry. What this is, it's called an automatic thoughts record.
Okay.
And if you want to, just maybe 2 or 3 times this week, when you start to feel sad or maybe when you think those thoughts about your friends not wanting to hang out with you, write down what you're thinking right before you start feeling sad. And do you think you'd be able to do that just maybe 2 or 3 times this week?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'll try.
Okay, and so what we'll do next week is we'll go over that at the beginning and try to get a feel of how to better help you.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do now, since it is getting towards the very end, is I just like to summarize everything.
Okay.
So we came in today and I talked about confidentiality. We went over what our roles are going to be. And then after that, we talked about setting goals, and we talked about the problems you've been going through and how maybe those automatic thoughts might be influencing your behaviors and your feelings. And I gave you a homework assignment, and we did some education on what cognitive behavioral therapy is. Does that sound like I covered everything?
Yeah. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, okay. So is there anything as far as feedback that you might want me to do differently next week?
No.
No. All right, well, Steve, it's good to meet you, and I will see you next week.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.